So today's question is, can you go by secular names? Should you give a secular name? When a child is born, many times in the hospital, they require that you give a name. Can you give a name? Andrew, Jack, whatever the interesting name, Eric, all the secular names that many of us have. And the question is whether that's okay. Is it a problem? Is it not a problem? And especially now it's very apropos because this is the Sefer Shmois, is how we began the second book of Chamisha Chumshe Torah. It's called Sefer Shmois for a reason. It's because it's all about names. How significant are names? Now, there was a video. I'm part of a group called the Achdus Group, a beautiful group. On this group, Lipa Schmeltz is part of this group, and he posted a video that he, I think, posted on his Sheni V'Chamishi. So I don't know Lipa, but from what I hear, he does beautiful things. He tries to inspire Jews, and therefore anything that I'm saying is really coming from simple avas chaverim and trying to be constructive. So he said the following pshat, which, because I feel that this is such an important topic, I'd like to address it publicly, and I'm sure since he did it publicly, he'll appreciate it. So he said the following interesting pshat. He said, what does that mean? Chazal say that the reason why we came out of Golus Mitzrayim is because Shloshinu Malbusham, Shloshmam, and Lashoinam. Meaning, the simple understanding is that they didn't change their names, they didn't change their language, they didn't change their clothing. And that's why they came out of Golus, and this is the reason why we're going to come out of Golus again. Now, so he said that it always bothered him. What do you mean? We're going to come out of Golus because we don't change our clothing, our names, and our language, first of all. And especially his name, Lipa, is not a Jewish name. And there's no doubt that the shtreimel that the Hasidim wear today is not something that they wore in Mitzrayim, that's for sure, because it was too hot. And the shtreimel was things that were something that someone hunted and put together. There's many different explanations why they wear shtreimel, but it's not because that was the Jewish clothing. What does that even mean? That because of the Hasidic clothing, that's we're going to come out of Mitzrayim? And this was mainly his message. His message was the exact opposite. No, the pshat is like this. Is because they didn't change the name means that they didn't act differently. They didn't have different names. They didn't have Shaloshinu means they didn't have clothing. They had the same clothing. Elamai, but they were inside Jewish, and inside they shined, and therefore that's how they were different from everyone else. So I want to say like this. Maybe it's a beautiful, interesting idea, perhaps, but it's absolutely wrong. It's wrong api Chazal, it's wrong api Pshat, and it's wrong api really all the Svarim HaKadoshim, and perhaps even the Halacha, and I'll explain what I mean by that. The Halacha, we have first of all the Maram Shik, and great poskim that said, it's forbidden to have a non-Jewish name, a secular name. Now, what I mean by that is something that's not a translation of Yaakov, Jacob. I'm talking about in a secular name like Eric, Andrew, and the like. According to the Maram Shik and other great poskim, it's forbidden to have such a name. According to the Maram Shik, it's an Issa D'Oraisa. It's a very serious thing. However, on the other hand, on the other spectrum, we have Moshe Feinstein Zichron Livracha, the G'dayla poskim of the past generation, and he has a few tshuvas, very interesting tshuvas, where he says it can't be that it's aser, that it's forbidden, because there were so many amazing, great people that had non-Jewish names. Just go through all the Talmud, Papa, Zutra, fascinating names that certainly don't sound Jewish. Lipa, Papa, sounds the same thing. But these were amazing people. So Moshe Feinstein writes the following. He's struggling with it. But one thing he says it's for sure megune. It's derogatory to have a non-Jewish name, a secular name. I'm not talking about he himself has Moses in his books. But what he means by that is the following, is that there's certainly something special that Chazal were telling us about having Jewish names. Why? Because it differentiates us from everyone else. It reminds us how special we are. And therefore, it is the reason why we came out of Egypt. It's because we had different names. And each generation, we try to keep different names and different levush. It doesn't mean that in those days in Mitzrayim, they were walking around with Peis and Shtreimel. But each generation of Jews, the Rambam says this point, the same thing. It's halachically that you should try to be different, look different. Now, does that mean that that's the ikar? No. But it's something very, very unique, and it's integral for our success in Golus, in exile. And I'm going to tell you, I had once a team of basketball players that were playing in the JCC against, I think it was 5 or 6 teams that were secular. And right before the game, how would I connect to people that were named? And I knew most of the players were Jewish, but I would always say hi, Shalom Aleichem, before we'd start the game. And then I would say, what's your name? You say John. He would say Eric, whatever it is. Then I would say, what's your Jewish name? And it was amazing how the person's neshama would light up like that, because a Jewish name represents the koichas. The Gemara says in Brachas and Daf Zayin, Shma Gorim, that a name has such an effect, and when you say a person's name, it has a power effect on their neshama right now. In fact, the Baal Shem Tov says you wake someone up with his name. It's easier to wake someone up with their true name. Okay, some people, it's even with the name, it might not work. The message is that Chazal are telling us, and I think this is something that we shouldn't try to reinterpret. We should take the true meaning, and that is that when we, the Jewish people, were given the mission of being a special nation that's going to teach everyone else, we have to keep that uniqueness. And one way of keeping that uniqueness is reminding ourselves with externalities, with things that are a little bit external. And by the way, the name is not something that's external. It's something internal. It's something so special. It represents each person's neshama as koyach hanefesh. A Yosef has the ability to fight the Yetzer Hara more than someone else. A Yehuda is a gibor. Each one and each person is special, and therefore, if you have a secular name, you have what to rely on. You could keep it if you need it for work, etc. But as much as you can, try to call each other by your Jewish name, because that's something that's a gift, and it reminds us. I think that secular people would have had a harder time if they did stay with their Jewish clothing and their names and the language to intermarriage, and unfortunately, how many people have already intermarried? And this is something so unique to us, and I vow we should keep it. And even though Lipa, it's only in respect to everything that you're doing that I share this with you, because I want you to give the true message. And the chizuk that people need is to know that this is a gift that the Rebbeinu Shem gave us. Hatzach.